Good morning, all. Bear with me. I'm running a bit late. The light's all over the place. I haven't got my headphones in. Not entirely sure my sound is working. Just talk amongst yourselves while I get myself sorted out. Right, my apologies. That sounds a bit better. Let me just go live over on Instagram while we're about it. Let's get some music playing in the background. That sounds about right for a Saturday morning, doesn't it? Nice cup of coffee, bit of jazz in the background. Good morning, or good morning too. Who have we got here? Gary Muirhead was first here. Good morning, everybody. Am I first on the show this morning? And have I beaten Dan? Yes, you have. You actually have. Although he was starting the countdown about half an hour ago over on our WhatsApp group. Jim Turner, yes, reckon you're the first in. Lots of people over on YouTube today. Why is that? There is Dan the man. Morning, Mark. Good morning to you, Dan, as well. How are we all doing this morning? Chris Ford says, happy Saturday. Yes, happy Saturday to each and every one of you. And Mark Whiting's here as well. How was your Friday? How was your Friday? Mine was a mixed bag. I'm never one to shy away from a bit of controversy, but the article that I published yesterday to coincide with International Women's Day, half hit the spot, half missed it by a country mile. So yeah, I got a little bit of stick about it yesterday. I had a few emails that took me to task. It sounds like Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. Man, I love that. Takes me back. That takes me back. Early 80s, mid 80s. Yeah, that used to be a bit of a hangout for us, mainly because it stayed open so late and still sold booze. So yeah, when I was up in the West End, which I used to do quite a bit actually. Good morning to Ken Hatcher as well. Yeah, so this whole women in construction thing, and I was going to ask you a question. Bearing in mind, I'm going to turn that music down just a touch. Bearing in mind, we had a whole week of women in construction that concluded yesterday with International Women's Day. Have you all woken up this morning feeling different? Are you suddenly overwhelmed with the need to go and employ lots more women? I'd be surprised if you do. Jim Turner is here as well. Good morning, Jim. And this time he's on Facebook. I don't know why people are playing around on the platforms they're on, but you're welcome wherever you're watching from. And it just occurred to me, and I am going to get on to other stuff in a minute. I asked the question, do you feel better after International Women's Day? Dan Cullen says, no. It's about what I expected. I was thinking the other day about similar sort of things. In my lifetime, I've lived through Ban the Bomb, CND, anti-capitalist marches, anti-war marches, anti-war in Iraq marches, and all of those things. Has anyone ever actually seen a protest that succeeded, that actually changed the will of the government? Just throwing that out there, because I can't remember one. The one that really stands out for me was, well, there were two actually. There was the one about the poll tax. Yeah, people took to the streets and said, we're not going to pay your poll tax, but we did. And we also did, was there something like 1 million people took to the streets during Tony Blair's government to say we don't want to go to war, but we went anyway, even though there were, as it transpires, no weapons of mass destruction. Chris Ford says, today I'll be mainly painting. The man who invented decorating wants fucking, but there again, the man who invented fucking wants decorating. Does he? Does he? That's very well worded. I do like that. Footy, liking the jazz. It was a late night last night, what can I tell you? After all the running around that my wife has done this week, and she's gone again, by the way, all the running around she did this week, we had a bit of a late night last night, went out for a nice big Ruby Murray, late night, slept in, so I'm feeling pretty laid back about things. Was there a call for you to burn your bra yesterday? I have long since, I am, all of my bras are burned. But no, there's a couple of things that struck me about all of that yesterday, and not specifically just the women in construction thing, although that was the one that came up yesterday. One of the issues that I have is a lot of the stuff that people read of mine They read in complete isolation. So, the women that were having a bit of a dig at me yesterday about, I don't understand what it's like to be a woman in construction, and I don't. But they seem to, one thing, they seem to have just read one article and decided I was just a misogynist and, I should be taken out and shot somewhere. They didn't take the trouble to read my back catalogue, in which I am completely supportive of women in construction. Anybody that knows me will know that to be the case. And the other thing is, they didn't actually bother to read the article properly. The article began and ended with, let's have more women in the industry. But they read the bit in the middle and decided, actually, this bloke is completely misogynistic, and therefore we'll give him a hard time. Tristan Mays has joined us over on Instagram. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you here. Let's have a look. Mick Norton is in the house as well. Good morning to you, Mick. Dan Collins says, heading to a meeting with a potential new employer in the Midlands. Good morning, says Tristan Mays from a sunny and chilly Cambridgeshire. Yeah, where is everybody today? I've got a pretty good idea. I know where Footy is. I know where Gary and Jim are. Chris as well. Yeah. Anybody else over there? Let me know where you are watching from. Dan Cullen, maybe working in a quarry. I've always quite fancied that. I realise when you listen to people talking about careers in demolition and construction, there's lots of talk about, no 2 days are the same. I quite like days that are the same, as you may well have learned from the fact that I start every single show with how the devil are you doing, and I end every single one that I'm leaping gazelle like. I just kind of like the structure. So quarries, yes please. I take it that's behind the levers of an excavator. Dan, let us know. Obviously, this is the Saturday Social. I've literally not written a single word down. So if anybody's got anything they particularly want to have a dig about, I did want to let you know, and I wish I could name them, because as far as I can see, it is very much game over. But there is another demolition contractor has seemingly gone to the wall. All of the signs are there. I've had 4 or 5 phone calls to say they've gone. I've had several to say that machines have been snatched back. I phoned them a couple of times and I'm getting complete silence. All the signs are there, but until I can get it confirmed, but that will be 7 demolition companies in 4 months. Why is it women in construction is 1 day or 1 week? Men are in construction 365 days a year and don't need and praise for any praise for. Sorry, Mark. Says Tristan Mason. Sorry, Mark. I'm one of those guys that don't like the whole women in construction campaign. I'm wanting the right people in the industry that's good at their jobs and passionate and don't care if, and I think that's going to be if they're male or female. Ben, the operator, has just joined us as well over on Instagram. I think that's one of the things that has been lost. Just going to go back, finish off Tristan's sentence. I don't care if they're women, man, or gay. Doesn't bother me. No. Best person for the job. That is the ultimate decider, and I think that's one of the things that gets lost. We're talking about equality, and rightly so. Women have got every bit as much right as to be in the industry as anybody else. Whether you're male, female, gay, straight, black, white, yellow, I honestly don't give a toss. But and I realise this is a slightly weird analogy to draw, and I also realise that some of you guys don't actually watch a great deal of football, but the BBC, in its infinite wisdom, and Sky are equally guilty as well, have decided, we need to balance the books, and therefore we're going to have women commentating on male football. A couple of them are very good. They've been and played in the World Cup, and they're very good at what they do. But were they actually the best people for the job, or were they the best women for the job that allowed the BBC to say, look what we're doing, aren't we all progressive and stuff? Dan Cullen says, good morning. Good luck, Dan, rather. Hope you get the job. Yeah, so do I. Jim Turner, with a longer comment here, says, protesting really works, but voting in the right direction can offer change. But whilst the masses vote for the main 2 bunches of twats, well said, we'll see no change in these modern times of social media. I'd hope we'd see some new parties coming to the fore. If I had more spare time and money, I'd be starting my own political party. The problem you have with that, and I totally agree. And one of the things that I feel like we're not grasping as a society, and this is not a specifically British thing. When you vote for a political party, whoever you vote for, and I don't care who you vote for, much the same as I'm sure you don't care who I vote for, but you get all of them. You go to the supermarket and you say, well, I'll have a bit of that, and I'll have a bit of that, and I fancy a bit of that, and that will go with that. That's me done. The problem with voting for any political party is you get the good, but you also get the crap that goes with it. And listen, I don't want to go down this road because I know everyone's got very strong feelings about it. But this whole, we've got it in the UK and we've also got it in America at the moment. This whole building an entire election campaign around immigrants. Now, whether you believe immigrants should be coming here or to America or not doesn't actually matter, because of what it represents. Good morning to Steve Williamson. He is working today, but he's here anyway. If you were to vote, despite the last 13 years and the total shit show that it has been, if you decided to vote Conservative again because you have very strong feelings towards the whole migrant, small boats and everything else, you get all the other stuff that goes with it. The fact that they can't control the economy and the fact that they are largely racist and so on down the line. Now, that might tie in with you, but if it doesn't, you got it anyway because you voted for a specific party. Traction Heavy Parts just joined us, as has my mate Martin, the Norwegian Earth Mover, over on Instagram. Let's have a look. Footy says, hope you get the job. You're going to have to move up there as well. Well, yeah, are you going to have to move up there? I would vote for you, Jim Turner, the man of the people. And that's the problem. The man of the people. I have no time for politicians, but I have my own very specific set of politics. But there is nobody that represents that. In absolute truth, I would be voting a little bit Labour, a little bit Lib Dem, a little bit Green, possibly even a little bit Conservative. But there's no way that you can pick and choose. You take that little bit because that really bothers you, whether it's migration, the economy, the NHS, or whatever it might be, and then you get all the crap that comes with them. You get their baggage as well. Doesn't sit well with me, I'm afraid. I just can't help thinking, in this day and age, it's largely a broken system anyway. I think back in the day, when you had politicians sat in their ivory towers telling us all what to do, and we were kind of kept out of the loop. They were the grand fromage of the world, and we just had to abide by whatever it was they said. I think now, as Jim actually mentioned it, with the availability of information and the fact that we've got social media, we can actually come together as one or as several and actually go back and say, hang on a minute, that doesn't work for us, but we don't. Now, Steve Williamson says, I'm ready for a rant today. Few things pissing me off in construction. Steve, the floor is yours, sir. I'll tell you now, if anybody wants to actually come on the show, I can do that. Let me grab that and I'll stick it in the chat. If anyone actually wants to come on the show, you can do that using the link that I've just posted. While you're thinking about that, Jim Turner says the reason we have National Days Weeks is because it's exposing the minority. Here we are, straight plant operators, construction workers don't get about their own day or week because we are the majority, and a massive majority too. The trouble with pleasing minority workers, or pushing minority workers to the front rather, is it's just a box-ticking exercise and totally unnatural. South Park might be on the edge of comedy program, but they address everything that's wrong with modern society straight on. They absolutely do. Yeah, they absolutely do. And very funny too, I have to say. Did anyone see the episode where they were talking about Prince Harry's book? Prince Harry, I can't actually remember what Prince Harry's book is actually called, but they interviewed him and they were talking to him about his book. Wow. Because he's just a moany git. Now, Gary Muirhead says, just a thought, what would happen to the Didcot investigation if Coleman & Company was to go out of the game next? Who would be held accountable for the company if the company involved isn't there anymore? It is actually possible to dredge companies out of receivership, but it's not easy. It doesn't tend to get done for these kind of things. It has been done for that kind of thing, but it tends to be more for financial reasons. The taxman didn't get his money, so they basically applied to have them reinstated as a company so they can go after people. But it's a good question. It is a good question, and it does throw up a very important point. I actually posted about this a little while ago, and I'm not going to name names. You can do the homework, and you can join the dots yourselves. But there have been several fatalities in recent years that have been followed in fairly quick order by companies either going out of business or management buyouts, management buy-ins, change of name, change of structure. Too much of a coincidence. I mean, Coleman's as an example, they have rebranded. They were Coleman & Company, as Jim was rightly, Gary rather, has rightly described them, but they now operate as Coleman's. Is that the same company? Is that the same company registration number, or have they kind of manoeuvred? As I say, I'll name names. Brown and Mason did it, for one. John F. Hunt did it. Rye Demolition did it. Had a fatality, and then in very quick order, they changed the name or the structure of the company. If you remember the Brown and Mason one, with the guy that was killed up at Longannet, they were originally facing a fine of £1 million. And they were told, basically told the court, well, we can't afford £1 million, we can give you 100 grand, which became the initial fine, but that was then appealed, and they ended up paying £1 million anyway. It's a pernicious thing, it really is, and I don't like it. I think there should be a closing of that loophole at some point in the very near future, because it's taking the piss. And never mind the legality of it. Imagine the moral implications of that. So, and listen, I'm not saying that John F. Hunt, Brown and Mason, or Rye were directly responsible for the death of the worker. That's for the courts to decide. But imagine if your first response to somebody dying on your site is, "Oh, we better shut up shop and make sure we don't get fined too much," because that's what we're talking about. Does my voice sound particularly deep today? Did too much talking last night, I think. Yes, you can join us on the show. Anybody that would like to, you can do that. You can use the link in the chat. I can't. Can I? I think I can. If anybody. No, I can't. I just thought I could actually share that over on Instagram, but I think the Instagram system is rather different. But yes, where did Steve Williamson go? Because he's ready for a rent. Probably loading a truck or something like that as we speak. Just while we're waiting for that to happen, I just want to give you a very quick recap on Monday. I'll be back here on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm over in Germany with the fine folks at Steel Wrist. So don't expect too many shows next week. Rather than usual 5, you're only going to get 2. It does seem like I've got some free time on the Thursday. So if I've got enough Wi-Fi and stuff, I might pop on. But I'll let you know about that as I can. They don't care, says Ken Hatcher. Plenty closed down to lose the liabilities. Yes, they do. And I mean, to my mind, that is just precisely what you say. It is a loophole that needs to be closed. Peter McKenna's just joined us. Good morning, Peter. How are you feeling? Are you in hospital? Are you feeling any better today? Let us know. Gary Muirhead says it must be the jazz music that's making your voice sound deep. Nice. I know where you're going with that. I remember that. Yeah, John Thompson on The Fast Show. If anybody remembers that. Fantastic stuff. Loved The Fast Show. Sorry, the Instagram feed just went absolutely mental. Yeah, also want to bring you up to date. We haven't got a date, although it looks like it's going to be the middle of April. We're going to be welcoming back our friend Gilles Ronnet from Caterpillar to talk about all things Caterpillar and Demolition. The last time we did it, we basically featured a film, and then Gilles talked about it for a bit because he was in the film. This time we're going to be doing something a bit different. So we've got a new film. Apparently, it's from Poland. Caterpillar have put some heavy iron over in an operation over in Poland. They're allowing us to premiere the film, so if you want to see it first, you'll see it with us. But Gilles will then join us, and we're going to have a look at other bits of the range, because they have Caterpillar have been very, very busy updating their attachment range. For example, I know we featured one of their shears a couple of days ago, but they've been updating their product range quite a bit for the demolition industry. So the plan basically is we're going to have an hour or so with Gilles and bring us all up to date, which should be good fun. Also wanted to let you know, what was the other thing? RBT Earth Solutions just joined us over on Instagram. The other thing I wanted to let you know, Gary Muirhead introduced, well, I say introduced me. There is a guy called Craig Payton. I think it's Payton, could be Patton, but Craig over on LinkedIn does a lot of mental health type stuff. We're planning to do a podcast together at some point in the very near future, after I get back from Germany, obviously. But he's also proposed that he, me, and a bunch of other people get together on a regular basis. One of the things and basically just have a chinwag about all things mental health and suicide and all that sort of stuff. That I'm more than happy to take part in that. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm going to propose, when I actually get to speak to the guys that are involved in it, that we record it so that we can actually show you what we're all talking about. Keep you posted on that. Will you be able to do any lives from Intermat? The plan is that we will be doing daily lives and not just once. So the deal that we have with Intermat is this. We are working with a company called Route 1 Publishing. I mean, we're there under our own steam anyway, so we're already signed up to be working with Komatsu and Oil Quick and Bobcat as well, and a bunch of other people. So we're going to work with those guys. But we're also working with Route 1 Publishing. Route 1 Publishing are the publishers of World Highways and Aggregates Business and a bunch of other magazines as well. So we're working together with Route 1, we're working with the organisers. And as part of that, the organisers are providing us with a studio. Don't know what the studio looks like, but the plan basically is that I won't take this, but I will take the scaled down version of it over to France with us. And yes, we will basically be going live each day, assuming everything works, and it should. You know, it's not particularly hard to set up. So basically, the idea is we're going to be there the day, not the day before the show starts, 2 days before the show starts, but we arrive in the evening. Following day, myself and Fred are going to run around the show, gather as much footage as we possibly can, so on the opening day of the show I can switch on, much as I've done this morning, switch on and say, welcome to the Breakfast Show live from Paris, and we'll do that show. But also during the day, the plan is to bring the industry glitterati into that studio. So if we can find the main man at Komatsu or Hitachi or whatever it might be, come and join us for a chat. So basically, I'm not going to tie it to a schedule, because it will be more a case of when we can get them. But what I'll be doing, we will be doing them live. We will broadcast them live, but then you'll be able to watch them on catch up. And then possibly the following day, not only will we feature the stuff that Fred's filmed on that day, we'll also mix in some of the stuff that we did live the previous day. So yes, the plan is there will be a rolling program of stuff coming out of Intermat. So looking forward to that. Ken Hatcher says, maybe Kat will invite me to Malaga. Well, learn to spell it right first. That's a good start. But yes, hey, listen. Stranger things have happened. Peter McKenna says, no movement yet, pal, but I'm getting the best care. That's the important thing. Are you in hospital? Yes, he is in hospital. Ken Hatch says, why don't you do a live evening show with the mental man? Well, see, one of the things that I goes back to what several people said at the very beginning of the show about women in construction. The issue of women in construction is not for 1 week of the year, it's not for 1 day of the year, it's for 365. The issue with mental health, even more so. That is, there is somebody that is struggling mental health wise every minute of every hour of every day in this industry. So, as I say, excuse me, I've agreed with Craig that we will get together once a month. If I thought it would do any good, I'd even increase that. I'd go maybe once a fortnight. I don't want to bore the audience, and you do need to keep finding new things to say as well. But if we could create a show, I know there's lots of discussions going on about mental health in sort of oak panelled rooms away from the industry. But if we could actually all sit down once a month or once a fortnight and just get some stuff off our chest, I don't think that's a bad idea as well. Don't think that's a bad idea at all. Footy has just said, is Marco going to France? I don't know. I know he's over in the States at the moment with the NDA, but I don't know if he's going to be in France. I will ask the question. Are we still looking to have a meet and greet somewhere in the UK? I sincerely hope we are. I wish I knew the best way to do it. I mean, I'm up at JCB. When am I there? A week or two's time? I can't remember. Yeah, about the 20th. About the 20th. We had a long chat last time I was up there about the possibility of me doing a live show from there, which, I'm still very, very keen to do. But I also quite like the idea of, could they find us a corner of their facility that's not being used for a day? And, we'll plan it 2-3 months in advance so that you guys can all get your time off work. And I realise Staffordshire is a bloody long way from Glasgow. I fully accept that, but it is roughly the middle of the country. It is a fantastic facility, so I wonder if we might be able to pull something off. I will ask the question. I just think it would be a fantastic place to do it. Ken Hatcher says, meet and greet at Diggerland in Devon. Fantastic for footy, quite good for you, bloody awful for Gary Muirhead. And for Steve Williamson as well. Let's have a look. Jim Turner says, the problem with politics and politicians is they need votes to stay on the job in order to get paid. Take money out of the equation and the greedy people will jump off the gravy train like rats from a sinking ship. That would be on my top of my list of changes. Politicians can't get paid. They should be there because they care. House of Commons and House of Lords would be very, very quiet indeed, wouldn't it? Why not do a show on mental health on a Saturday? Could do that. Maybe that becomes your Saturday afternoon show that you were clamouring for, Dan. I don't know. The problem, the weird thing to say, the problem with the mental health issue is it's a massive problem, but there's only so much you can say about it. And I don't think it's worth doing if all we're going to do is bleat about it. I'm very, very conscious of the fact that there is a lot of bleating in this industry. There always seems to be some calls, I said yesterday about, ill-fitting PPE for women. In the grand scheme of things, how important is that? The problem we have with the mental health issue is there's a bunch of organisations and a bunch of charities, many of which have just crawled out of the woodwork, that are all talking about mental health, but are not actually doing anything about it. And that, to my mind, that's where the change needs to be. And it won't be easy. It basically means taking everything we've done in construction and demolition for the last 100 years, throwing it away and starting again. But I, as I say, one of the things that I want to propose to Craig and to Steve Kerslake and to Andy Stevens, who are all kind of the same mind, is we've all been calling for construction suicides to be listed under Riddle. We're making no headway with that. So if you can't get it listed under Riddle and get the HSE to investigate it, the next best thing is to name and shame, as far as I'm concerned. Name and shame. You know, if somebody is employed by Fred Blogg's Demolition and he kills himself, we publish the fact that he was employed by Fred Blogg's Demolition. And if Fred Blogg's Demolition happened to be a member of the Institute of Demolition Engineers or the Federation of Master Builders, unlikely, but if they were, we publish that as well. And we just heap pressure upon pressure upon pressure until somebody says, I'm done with these guys. We need to do something. Bearing in mind the position I'm in, all I am is a mouthpiece. I don't have a magic wand and I can't actually change industry policy. But I think if you put enough pressure on them and hold people to account, maybe, just maybe, somebody might say, enough. Let's have a look. Way it's going, Gary. You'll all be visiting me in a hospital somewhere. Yeah, we could all gather around Peter McKinnon's hospital bed and eat grapes between ourselves. A breakfast show factory tour. Listen, it's a lot to ask. It is a lot to ask. Obviously, JCB it's a huge business. It's enormously busy. I mean, there's always something going on there. But if they do happen to have a spare day, even if that day is maybe a Saturday, possibly, to all get together and get the factory tour, go around the JCB experience, and all actually just get together and talk about all things industry and all things JCB and everything else. I think that would be absolutely top notch. Doesn't have to be JCB. There are other companies. Thwaites would be a good example. They don't do a great deal of this kind of thing, to be perfectly honest. But they're a great British company. Love to do it. If Thwaites would like to open their doors, even if they're just laying on some tea and coffee and some biscuits, that'll do. I'll do that. I'm going to come back to the chat in just a moment, but I do need to share this with from Steve Williamson. We had a Women in Construction Day. So do we get a day to say how great we are? Honestly, boils my piss. No, you don't. I don't know if you were here yesterday, Steve. One of the things, the analogy that I drew yesterday was, it's like, if you've got Sky TV, you're paying whatever it is per month, and you've bought in to have the sport and the movies and everything else. But if you come along as a new customer and say to Sky, I'm thinking about joining up, you can have 3 months of free movies, you can have the sport free for a year. But if you go back as an existing customer and say, excuse me, but I'd quite like that. No, you're an existing customer. That offer is only for newcomers. That is how the whole JCB, the whole Women in Construction thing feels to me. You've got people that have been doing, Steve's a pretty young guy, but you've got people that have been doing this job for 20, 30, 40 or more years who don't get a day to themselves. And yet, and listen, I don't have an issue with Women in Construction Day or week or anything else. As I said yesterday, if you could get enough women of the right caliber and the right competence and the right amount of commitment, we could fix the skill shortage in a couple of days. Not a problem at all. No problem at all. But praising women while ignoring men, and particularly when we've got men killing themselves at a rate of 503 per year, doesn't sit well with me. I am going to go back up. Let's have a look. 40 says, for me to go to JCB factory would be 3.5 hours drive. That's 250 miles. It's about 3.5 hours from where I am as well. It's a long way. It is a long way. And the only other way to do it, obviously, is to do like a road show. So go down south, go to the Midlands, go to the north / Scotland. The problem with that is how many people would there? But I'd love to get Gary from the top, Footy from the bottom, Chris Ford and Jim Turner from the middle, all in one room. Because otherwise it's going to be, a couple of old fuddy-duddies chatting about the worries of the world. About 20 years ago in Classic Plant and Machinery magazine, there was an ad for factory tours. I forgot who was the organizer. I did a couple of different trips with them to JCB and Komatsu at Berkeley, says Garvin, Mostly Diggers. I wonder if that's still available. I do wonder if that's still available. The other thing as well, and this is you kind of got to put the cart before the horse to a degree. If I'm going to say to JCB, how about you give us half a day or a day at your factory and tuck us away in one of your theatres or something like that, they'd probably say, well, oh yeah, okay, we're willing to listen. How many are you bringing? And if I said, well, it might be 2 or it might be 30, we kind of need to come up with some sort of plan on that. But let me ask the question first. See if they'd be open to it. If they would be open to it, we'll worry about the actually organising the logistics after that. Gary can come down the new HS2 line. Well, he'd have to drive about 300 miles before he could join it, but yeah, why not? Ken Hatcher says, lol. No, a lot of people think I'm mental. I don't think so. I'm on the fence, Ken. I'm on the fence. Yeah. See, that's listen, bearing in mind I couldn't do what I do for a living without social media, so I am a fan. But social media cuts both ways, and literally yesterday I switched off my LinkedIn because of all the virtue signaling. You know, the number of companies most of my LinkedIn is demolition and construction anyway, but the companies, you know, they've lined up their young ladies, and they all seem to be quite young, and they all seem to be quite attractive. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, but lined them up in their PPE to show how committed they are to empowering women. This week. What about next week? The week after? The week after that? Will they still be? And going back to the point that Dan has raised there, that's the one that really gets my goat. You know, Mental Health Awareness Week will roll around, and all of the same companies will do exactly the same. You know, we have mental health awareness courses. We have mental health first aiders. Yeah, but have you changed your working practices to make sure that you guys aren't actually under undue stress? No, I bet you haven't. Ken Hatcher says JCB could do it easily. They're all geared up for it. They are. But again, you know, if they've got to lay stuff on and what have you, you know, be it tea or coffee or lunch or whatever it might be, there's a cost and everything else. You know, and I understand. I mean, I'd love to just phone them up and say, we're coming. June the 1st, you're going to have a bunch of hairy-ass digger drivers turning up. I'll be with them. Just open the door. It doesn't work like that. Gary Muirhead says, Craig is a fantastic guy, very passionate about the subject, and all involved in the show if all involved in the show can save one life from talking and act about this topic, has to be a good thing. Yeah. Hey, listen, I mean, you know, I realise a lot of the latter part of my career has been very, very dominated by all things related to DIDCOM. But, you know, seriously, if somebody were to phone me up and say, you know, I was on a bridge last night thinking about jumping, but something you said made me step back from the precipice and I'm not going to do it, I'd consider that a career well spent. I wouldn't say I'd hang up the headphones. I probably wouldn't, because I quite enjoy this. But if somebody were to phone me and say, you actually saved my life, or something that Gary or Dan or Ken or Jim said saved my life, yeah, my work here is done. Really. I can help with my connections to JCB too, Mark. Feel free. What about a Ken's Day? I thought every day was a Ken's Day. Yes, pizza for all on Ken Hatcher Day. Jim Turner says, I'll definitely come to the JCB show and provide any help you might need. Easy for you, Jim, because you're on the doorstep, but thank you for the offer of help. That would be fantastic. I'd actually stolen the words from Ken Hatcher's mouth. Pizza someday. There you are. Chris Ford, question of the day. Fantastic question of the day. Why does masking tape stick to everything but what you need it to stick to? And I'll add an addendum to that. Why doesn't glue stick to the inside of the tube? Just saying. Peter says, time men played the equality card on women. you know that's one of the things that I was thinking yesterday. Bearing in mind this is 2024, we've had 3 female prime ministers now, of varying degrees of quality, I grant you, but we've had 3 female prime ministers. We lived under a queen. I don't mean Elton John, I mean the Queen, for all of our lives. Everybody lived on this show, all their lives they had a queen. You know, we have women in very, very high positions of power. Should we even be talking about this in this day and age? You know, and particularly when you think about what construction is like today. You know, if you'd have said 50, 60 years ago, you know, we need more women in demolition and construction, I think quite rightly people would have said, well, you can't do that. They're not, you know, they're not built to be swinging sledgehammers and lifting pallets of, nobody's lifting a pallet of bricks, but lifting, you know, a hod full of bricks or whatever it might be. But bearing in mind, most of the industry is now mechanized. Does the furniture you have between your legs really matter anymore? You know what? A female telehandler driver or a male telehandler driver, from a distance, you will be able to tell the difference. So why is it that we're still speaking about it? And one of the other things that struck me, and I've mentioned this before, I had a conversation with she's a big deal on social media. It's not Amy Underwood, by the way, but she's a big deal on social media. Female digger driver, and she's a gun for hire, so she goes from site to site and works for lots of different companies. And regardless of who she's working for, at some point, and sometimes on a daily basis, she will turn up to find that somebody stuck a dildo to the window of her machine, or they've left one in the female toilet or something. So, Women in Construction Day, fine, but what about the eradicating arseholes from the industry day? Wouldn't that be an idea? And if we had a day to eradicate the arseholes and the Neanderthals and the misogynists, would we still need a Women in Construction Day? Would we? Maybe we wouldn't. Like to hear from you. Dan Cullen says, you and Footy could travel together. Listen, I'm not going to start laying on buses or anything like that, but we shall see. Gary Muirhead, Komatsu and Chester the Street for the ones in the north, JCB in the Midlands for the ones in the south. Listen, I'm more than I've got a mate up at Berkeley at Komatsu. I'm more than happy to ask the question. Jim Turner says, I think blokes in construction offering themselves a totally different issue than women in construction week. Both important topics, but on totally different pages. They are very different subjects. The reason I'm putting them side by side is, and this literally occurred to me while I was writing the article, Women in Construction Week is basically holding up a big sign saying, women, there is a role for you here in the construction industry. The construction industry, the modern construction industry, is fandabidozy. It's all pink ponies and kittens. It's fab. It's a great place to be. And then over here, just slightly to one side of that, you've got 503 blokes that found the industry so completely unbearable and toxic that their only route out was to, as you put it, off themselves. And the cynic in me even wonders, is it a case of, we've lost a bloke, let's cross him off the list. Maybe we can get a woman to replace him because they seem to kill themselves a bit less. I don't suppose that conversation's ever been had, but it happens in my head, which is why I'm featuring the two together. Ken, you love pizza. Nothing mental about that. Just mad. You don't have to be mad to work here, but it certainly helps. Jim Turner says the people at the top of the tree should be pushing in inclusiveness in construction. It's there for everyone, any sex, gender, and colour. Yes, it should be. It should be. And again, the whole. What is the expression? You can't be what you can't see. And so here's the thing. and this just literally occurred to me. So, Women in Construction Week was this past week in March. When are most young women likely to be looking at career choices? August, September, when they're leaving school and university? Are they going to trawl back 6 months through LinkedIn to see, oh, yes, this construction lark, that looks like a blast. Must have a bit of that. Are they? Are they really? Ken Hatcher says, we could even go to the Kevin Quarry out the way. Listen, if they would open it up, I think that would be the perfect place to do it. Never mind theatres and everything else. Kevin Quarry, because of the new facilities they've got up there, you've got they've actually built a grandstand in there, a glass-fronted grandstand. Makes my life slightly more difficult, if I'm being completely honest, but I'm not the typical punter for that place. I'm going to come back to Garvin in a minute because he's just come up with the comment of the day. But yes, they've got this grandstand, and they've actually got sort of lectern, they've got a PA system, they've got theatre arranged seating, and they've also got the quarry behind that's full of equipment as well. If I could convince JCB to allow a bunch of us to come and have a bit of a play and a bit of a chat, I will certainly do that. So, yes, going over to Garvin, I want this on a t-shirt. I don't really. If anybody's listening, don't put this on a t-shirt because I'm not sure I'd have the nerve to wear it. This is how construction should look in the future, according to Garvin at Mostly Diggers. Willies and the JJs in, arseholes out. Simples. Arseholes out. Yes, absolutely. Meet and greet, says Chris Ford. Meet and greet at plant shows or working weekends, as there's various ones around the country. It means a lot of travelling for Mark, though, plus the fact that we wouldn't all be in the same place at the same time. Hillhead is pretty central for a main meet. I'm going to be at Hillhead anyway, so if anybody's going, I'll write off an afternoon, and we'll all just get the coffees in or get the beers in. For you, not for me. Get the coffees in, and we'll all just sit around and have a damn good chinwag. If that's what you fancy doing, I'm more than happy to do that. But again, is Gary going to go to Hillhead? Is Steve going to go to Hillhead? Is Footy going to Hillhead? So whatever we do, but I do think if we could organise something maybe 3 months out, and even not just us, because obviously we've got people that are watching over on Instagram now. But there's also people, I don't know if you realise this, but there's a lot of people that watch this show, not this one, but the weekly or the weekday one, that don't ever comment. And the number of times I'll get a phone call after the show, I was watching, I didn't say anything, but if we could actually organise a location and say, okay, we're going to do that, we're going to do the Breakfast Show live or something like that, organise it with enough pre-warning and actually promote it and try and get a proper bunch of people and a proper bunch of proper people. I don't want managing directors, I don't want consultants, I don't want recruitment agents, I want proper people with dirt under their fingernails, and there will be a dress code. Come as you are. That will be the dress code. Let's have a look. Ken Hatcher reckons that the reason you're what was it? Trying to remember exactly what it was. It was Chris, wasn't it? Saying something about why does masking tape stick to everything, but what you need to stick to, and according to Ken Hatcher, it's because it's cheap tape. Okay, I tell you what is weird stuff, and I've actually got it holding my chair together. I've got some of that Gorilla Tape. That sticks to everything, me included. Yes, I've been stuck in this chair for hours at times. Gary Muirhead says, we don't have time to play the Equality Car, Peter. We're too busy. Too busy working. Indeed. The Victorian era, says Chris Ford, the Victorian era still exists, sadly, in some trades. But the weird thing about that is, you would have thought that would have been the easier thing to fix. If you are determined, if you're a demolition construction company and you're determined to employ more women, you have to go out and find the right women. You have to train them up, and you have to get them incentivized, and all that kind of thing. If you want to make your site more hospitable to women, get rid of the dickheads. They're easy to spot because they're dickheads. Dead easy. And to my mind, if you do something misogynistic or sexist or racist, first warning. Do it again, you're out the door. Simple as. And if they then pop up, much the same as I've said about the abuse of drugs and alcohol, if they then pop up on somebody else's radar screen as a potential employee, and you get a phone call to say, I'm thinking about employing Dave. I understand he worked for you. Oh, yes, Dave did work here. He could drive a digger, but he's an absolute racist. I wouldn't bother. You'd soon cure it. You really would. How much has money been spent on Women in Construction Week by companies? Wouldn't this money be better spent on mental health? Yes, it would. And fortunes. And again, I'll go back to the point I made earlier about social media and the fact that it cuts both ways. There are websites that are dedicated to the days, the national days and the international days. So Mental Health Awareness Week and Women in Construction Week and Steak and Blowjob Day. I seem to miss that quite a lot. And I don't even particularly like steak, but that's a whole other story. But all of those are laid out, so we know exactly when. There's a National Pizza Day. Ken Hatter will tell you when that is. So there's all these days that are, and basically what these companies do is they put a note in the calendar, and sometimes it's and I can do it. It's not hard to do. It's March, middle of March. We need a photograph of one of our ladies in PPE. We don't actually employ anyone that works in PPE. No, get Tracy out of accounts. She'll do. She's attractive. Get her in a hard hat and a high-vis vest. Take a photograph and just schedule it on social media. So when that Women in Construction Week rolls around, it automatically populates and we look fantastic. It really is as simple as that. Now, is that showing any kind of commitment to empowering women? No, of course it's not. Chris Ford says, as long as it's a meaty pizza. I don't know what delivery company does it, but there's it might be Pizza Hut, can't remember, but there is a meat feast pizza. It has these little balls of sausage meat on them. It is 10:52 in the morning. I could take one of those down right now. Maybe if I get this job, you can come to this quarry. Listen, there's another point. If anybody's got an in with a company where they've got facilities where we could get 20, 30 people in a room, let me know. How many career officers at school are offering the construction industry to young women leaving? I would take a wild stab at none. And there again, that is how ingrained this has become. There is a standing joke that, back in the 50s and the 60s, the careers evening was, you're a boy, mechanic, you're a girl, secretary. That was the way it worked. Have we really come that much further than that? Have we really? I'm bearing in mind how much, as I say, with automation and mechanization, has anybody within the education system gone, women could do that and they could probably do it really well? I'm not seeing it. At all. Mick Norton says, my late Irish mum worked as a crane operator in a munitions factory in Oxford during World War II. She never crowed about equal opportunities. She was just a small cog in a bigger wheel. And funnily enough, I have to be absolutely honest. I did take a bit of flack after yesterday's article, but I was quite surprised. I even had one this morning from a lady over at Conquip who sent me a message basically praising the article, saying that, she appreciated the sentiment. I don't think, like I said about the specific PPE and everything else, I don't think there is a great drive for equality. Women just want to be able to go to work and earn a living without being harassed or abused or anything else. It's all they want. They just want to get. We all do the same, and I know, you know, I love what I do for a living. I really do. I'd miss it if I couldn't do it. But ultimately, we all go to work for one reason: to get some money to keep our families safe and sound. And women are doing that exact same thing. You know, they don't need to have dildos stuck in their machines. They don't need to be groped and chatted up and anything else all the live long day. Just let them go and earn their living and go back home to their boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever it might be. Just let people get on with their bloody lives, you know. Chris Ford says, Kev in Quarry, even closer than Hillhead for me. Be good crack to try the latest machines. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say about that is it's quite a big ask, because obviously health and safety, they would need a team of guys there, but maybe the team of guys will be there anyway. I'll ask the question. I promise I will ask you the question. Dan says, I'll see if I can get to Hillhead if I get this job. Please do. Dan says Scott Plant might be workable for everybody bar me, I think. Oh, and Steve Williamson. Both Steve and I will be in France while Scott Plant is going on, which is a bloody nightmare. Dress code, see-through Packer Max and a hard hat. Hey, listen. I didn't realise it was going to be that kind of get-together, but hey, whatever. Chris Ford says, I'm not getting much painting done this morning. This show is too distracting. My apologies. Do you want me to send you back to work, or should I just keep going? Ken is going to wash his car soon. Not a problem at all. So you have permission now, Chris. If Ken's going to wash his car, you can go and do some painting if you wish. Our friend Mick is here. Good morning, Mick. Haven't seen you for a week or two. Great to see you here. I thought I'd pop my head in just to catch up. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Good of you to join us. Let's have a look. Pizza Day. I knew he'd know. February the 9th. I missed it. Although I may well have had pizza on that day. I do like pizza. Graham Footy Williams says Papa John's is better than all the others. Oh, is that the case? Let's have a look. Sorry, Mark, dropped my laptop in the ward. So on my boys one, not a problem at all. We recognise you regardless. Chris Ford, the problem is women working in construction still seen as a novelty, a bit like women lorry drivers. At least that industry is attracting more women as the work is becoming easier. Anyone who's roped and sheeted a load will know where I'm coming from. But seriously, you know, if you could get I'm going to say a young woman, but a woman, doesn't matter of their age, if you could get a woman to go and do her card on a backhoe loader, a dumper, a telehandler, a wheel loader, whatever it might be, do her card. That card basically says that it actually says that she is equal to the others. You know, there's not, the cards aren't tiered. If you hold a backhoe loader card, whether you're male, female, black, white, gay or straight, your card is equal to that of the person stood beside you. They're off and running. And there's nothing about operating any of those machines that requires superhuman or masculine strength. You know, so long as they can get up the steps and down the steps, you know, it's not like let's be absolutely honest, you're basically forbidden from lifting anything these days anyway. Not a problem at all. We had a lasagna pizza last night from Domino's. A lasagna pizza. It sounds fantastic, but I'm just going to say, I've just seen that our Rizzo Construzioni, they sound Italian. They've probably just seen that. They're watching over on Instagram, but they've probably just seen that, and they've probably just had a fit. I apologise to our Italian friends. We don't all eat lasagna pizza. I personally realise those are two separate things, both good, but do not belong together. This is a Scotsman. He does not represent us all, and I'm sorry for what we're doing to your cuisine. Gary Muirhead, for the love of God, sir. Let's have a look what we've got here. I think Lynch was doing eight a day where they went to schools to trying to get them in the industry. Listen, Do you know, funnily enough, I'm writing a thing at the moment. Here's the thing: what I wrote. Yeah, I'm writing a thing at the moment. And it is talking about when I co-wrote the book. My Dad Does Demolition. It's nearly 10 years ago now. And I went to a bunch of schools around Surrey, because that's where I am, and my co-author John Woodward did around the Midlands. He did more than I did. But I tell you what, going along and actually showing them the book and everything else, I had more engagement from the girls than I did from the boys. The boys loved the whole big diggers and blowing shit up. They absolutely loved that. But it was the girls that were really, really fired up. You know, and how does this work? How does that work? Could I do that? Yeah, you could do that. Just need somebody to go and do it. Really does. Gary Muirhead says, where's men's pat on the back? I was once told that a pat on the back is 2 feet from a kick in the ass. Yeah, and Mourinho Florindo says, bon dia. Bon dia to you as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Bon dia. Now, where would that meet? That sounds Spanish or Portuguese. But there's an H in your name. I'm thinking Portuguese or Brazilian. But bon dia. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Yes. I've said this before. I in my career, I was very, very fortunate to work for 2 editors back to back. Literally, I was working for one week and I was working for another the following week. My first editor on the magazine, Caterer and Hotel Keeper, was, imagine Gordon Ramsay, but angrier. That's what he was like. He would throw things at you. He would throw things at the wall. He'd F and Jeff. Slammed doors. He slammed his office door so hard once that it actually came off his hinge. Well, it came off the top hinge. Absolute lunatic. So come 5 o'clock in the evening, my coat was on and I was out the door. Fast forward a week, I'm now working for a guy called Jerry Gosney on Contract Journal, the construction magazine. And Jerry would, regularly, come up and pat you on the back, love the article, or, and even sometimes it was a case of, I think you could have written that better, or, you should have done that. But about once every 6 weeks, I was on the plant desk. The plant desk was about 6 guys. There was myself, a guy called Tom Whitley, another one called Adrian Barker, Peter Anderson, and so the plant team was, we worked across Contract Journal, International Construction, and Plant Managers Journal as well. But because we were all the plant guys, and the rest of the office basically looked down at us, we used to go over the pub on a Friday afternoon and just have a pint or whatever it might be. And about once every 6 weeks, Jerry Gosney, the editor, would come over, pat us all on the back and say, I've got this one, lads. Now, it wasn't coming out of his pocket. I'm sure he claimed it back on expenses. But every once in a while, he made a point of just saying, cheers, lads. Good job. Well done. I'd have walked over hot coals for him. Still respect the guy to this very day. Jim Turner says, your point about the dickheads belittling women at work, it's down to us proper folks to abuse the twats publicly to keep them in line. Yeah, it is. It is. There's I wish I'd done it in the same way. Has anybody seen the TV series Reacher? The guy that plays Jack Reacher on the TV series Reacher is a ridiculous specimen of human. I think he stands about 6'6", and he is built like a brick shithouse. He is ripped to shit. I mean, this guy is he is the Incredible Hulk made flesh. He really is an absolute beast. And there's a bit in one of I think it's the first series, where he's walking into a diner and a guy comes out abusing a woman, just shouting at her and everything else. And all he does is stare the guy down. And the guy basically apologizes. I've done that. I was going out one evening to pick up my eldest daughter. And I drove around the corner from our old house, and I could see a guy literally, finger in the face of a young woman, really giving it to her. So I drove past, drove back round, and just pulled up alongside them and just wound the window down and just sat there and looked at the guy. And I thought, sooner or later he's going to say, mind your own business or something like that. But I think he realised I was serious, and he stopped. Not saying we all need to be that brave, and I don't think we all need to go down the gym as much as the guy that plays Reacher, but call it out. Call it out. If you see people that are being a dickhead, tell them, excuse me, sir, you're being a dickhead. I'd appreciate it if somebody said that to me. Ish. Dan Cullen says, I'm at the station waiting for the 11:38. Is anyone near Nuneaton today? If anyone's near Nuneaton, let Dan know. You would get the sack faster than dickheads would, pal. Sad state of reality. Yep, absolutely. And let's be absolutely honest, you know, some of the dickheads will be the people that actually wield the stick and hire and fire. Jim Turner says, I wouldn't get the sack where I work. Glad to hear it. Sounds like a forward-thinking company. Footy says, does Gary Muirhead wear a kilt? Gary Muirhead, do you wear a kilt? Do you wear a kilt? I'd like to know. I've worn a kilt a few times, actually. Not that I'm allowed to. I did it once to wind up my best mate's Scottish father, and he slammed the door in my face. That's a whole other story. But I wore a black denim kilt, which I'm sure is every bit as sacrilegious as lasagna pizza. But I found it quite enjoyable. And I'm not talking like weird fetishistic type stuff. It's quite liberating, particularly when the one thing that I found really strange, you know that thing that women do when they sit down and they kind of smooth the skirt under them? I was doing that within about 10 minutes. Nobody taught me. I just naturally did it. It's lovely. And we were there. We're lucky. It was one of those years at Glastonbury. It was 2008. We had one night of rain, so there was a bit of mud. But after that, it was beautiful sunshine. I have to say, kilt in the sunshine. There's a lot to recommend it. I see a lot of companies will take on a newbie lady, and yet hundreds of male red card holders can't get jobs. Sometimes I think it's just a case of ticking boxes, I'm afraid. Crane Hub, Tristan May says, what the hell have we just walked into? It's because I was talking about wearing a kilt, I think. My apologies. Mick says, gave a copy of that book to my granddaughter. She took it to school, all-girls school, and it was borrowed by 99% of her school. That makes my day. And I tell you what, I had a phone call from a guy. Now, bear in mind, this book has been around for 9.5 years or thereabouts. I had a call from a guy on Tuesday this past week, and he phoned up and he said, it's my son's book day on Friday, and he wants to do my dad does Demolition. I've just gone to order it on Amazon and I won't get it in time. Do you have a spare? And I did have a spare, so I sent it to him. So it's still in circulation and people are enjoying it. Much to my astonishment. The way to sort out our industry, right? Stand back. Jim's got this. All this nonsense that I've been talking, Jim's got it. Right, here we go. The way to sort out our industry is start right at the beginning. Take our industry into schools with after school and Saturday clubs, creating and fixing things around schools. Then offer the kids with natural ability a job or apprenticeship. Then we'll have a diverse, tolerant and happy industry. And the amount of suicides will drop year on year too. That was the Saturday Social. Jim Turner's just fixed the industry. Yeah. Damn right. Slightly weird analogy to draw. My oldest grandson, God bless him, he's autistic. He speaks, but not everything that he says makes a great deal of sense. Has trouble communicating and stuff like that. Perfectly healthy in every other way. He can read. He's an absolute master at maths. I mean, he's nearly 7 years old. Absolute master at maths. But he's on the spectrum. Let's put it like that. And part of being on the spectrum is that he's not particularly good with food, particularly new food. There are certain things that he likes, and there are everything else he doesn't like. And that was the case for 5.5 years until my daughter started to get him cooking. And not just cooking, but, digging up a carrot in their back garden, washing it, chopping it up, cooking it. There's the carrot that you made. He eats the carrot. Not a big fan of things like raisins and sultanas. Put them in a cookie or put them in a cupcake that he has made. All of a sudden, these are the greatest things since sliced bread. Jim's point there, if you could go in, and I know there had been TV shows made about it. I can't remember what the thing that Nick Knowles used to do was called, but that idea, there's something in the school that needs a fixing. I don't know, a bit of painting and decorating, or putting in a new banister on the stairs or something like that. Get an expert in to do it, but get some of the kids to help. Actually put a screwdriver or a hammer or something in their hand. If there's a bit of landscaping, get a digger in, supervised, let them have a go, let them see how it works, let them experience it. I reckon you would, Jim, I tip my hat to you, sir. I think you're absolutely on the money there. Gary Muirhead said we had a Taylor Wimpey site manager in Edinburgh that won an award for his site, and he organised a barbecue day on site for all the workers. He said if it wasn't for us, he wouldn't have got it. Yeah, quite right. Quite right. The problem is, though, that kind of site manager is... I'm sorry. Somebody has just joined us over on Instagram, and their name is Got a Chubby. I'm so happy for you. The problem is that those types of site managers are the exception rather than the rule. Site managers are usually effing and jeffing, telling you to get the job done rather more quickly than you necessarily need to, rather than saying, guys, cheers for that. Yeah, thanks for your help. A few more of those would be great. Same here. I worked with a company years ago. When we met, finished job before time, we were all handed a £100 bonus. And again, I bet you'd have bent over backwards for that company as a result, because they recognise what you did. Listen, it's Saturday morning. There might be children watching, but fuck it. Awesome Earth Movers has just joined us. Good morning, Awesome Earth Movers. I wonder which one of the team that is. Is that Chris himself? Is that Justin? Is it Dale? Awesome Earth Movers, thank you for joining us. Keep up the good work. Love your work, fellas, as you well know. I like the word cunt. Jim Turner. People seem to hate being publicly called a cunt, and that's and if they know that's what they'll get, they'll learn to behave themselves. Yeah, that word is a bit like a verbal clip round the ear, isn't it? If you've gone that far, you mean business. I said earlier in the week, I like that ability to abuse people without swearing. Where people get called a melon and stuff like. I love numpty. Numpty is, as far as I know, numpty is very much a Scottish or a Northern thing, but numpty is a fantastic thing. But if you really, really, really want to get somebody's attention, Jim, as ever. Yeah. Lou Carlish just joined us in South London. It's totally normal. Totally normal. Yeah, in actual fact, I would actually say I've used it as a term of endearment. Hello, you old... Yeah, you get the idea. Mick says, missed the last 10 days of the show. Anything interesting happening? No. Obviously we've been giving away free money, and we had naked women on several of the shows. No, it's much of the same. Obviously, the bit that has kind of prompted a lot of today was it's just been Women in Construction Week, which bizarrely, despite the fact that we're still talking about it, I think most of us agree, not a bad idea, don't have a major problem with it. But don't let's lose sight of the other 86% of the industry who are out there doing their thing the rest of the time. Apparently, Gary Muirhead does wear a kilt only on special occasions, weddings, and when we beat England at rugby. I don't know whether that's something that happens a lot or something that really happens, because I don't do rugby. I've no idea. Just Couldn't even tell you the rules. No, not a clue. Get awfully excited with England and Scotland playing football, but rugby, no, complete mystery to me. Dan Cullen says, I'm £1,000 every Christmas for loyalty and be taken for a meal. Was a proper family-orientated firm. He's since passed away. The company has folded as Pete didn't trust people to carry on what he'd started. It's a shame. There is often that third generation thing, isn't there? You know, somebody comes up by their bootstraps and forms the company. Their son then comes along and takes it to the next stage. And the third generation, who have been brought up with a silver spoon in their mouth, shit on the heritage. Gary Muirhead says, well done, Jim Turner. Fair play. You're right on the money. Maybe we can start by getting them out of their bedrooms and off their computers and games consoles. I seriously, I do genuinely think if you can. I don't know if anybody's been following this, but Peter Haddock's eldest son, Lucas, has been working with, or he's been on a work experience thing, him and his mate, with, I think it was Flannery's, and he's been out on a dumper and various other bits and pieces. And I guarantee, I mean, he's done a week with them, and you know, Peter had to pull a few strings because he knows them and stuff like that. But chances are Lucas will end up working in this industry because he's basically bought into the whole thing completely. Why aren't we doing that? Peter McKenna says, I think there's nothing more appropriate than the phrase, fuck off, telling people to go away when they're doing your head in. Just doesn't seem to... Telling people to go away when they're doing your head in just doesn't seem to cut the mustard. I totally agree. I'll let you read that. Peter McKenna's dad said once, I'll let you read it. I can't keep saying that. Lou Carney, I've been here the whole time, but quietly observing. There's a bit in the very early part of War of the Worlds. Little did we know that we were being watched from afar. Lou Carney, watching us from afar. I like Wazzock or Pillock. Yeah, Pillock. Pillock was one of my dad's favourite. What a Pillock. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone ever noticed that most train stations have certain numbers on the platform missing, like number platform 5 or 3? Do they? I know there are, and I don't know if this is still the case, but there used to be a thing about hotels didn't have a 13th floor because of luck and stuff. Yes, it is, Peter. In London, it's not. It is Kent. Particularly in the bit of London I spend most of my time in. Jim Turner reckons he says it about 100 times a day. I do, but only if I'm driving. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen says, morning to the fabulous Lou. How's you doing? Yeah, how are you doing, Lou? Footy says, I like rugby, a bit of violence in there, but when man's game, yeah, listen, I wouldn't necessarily argue with that. I just don't know the rules. Steve Williamson says, I still play with computers and it's like a games console every day. I think that's Gary Muirhead. He was aiming that. Oh yes, Gary. Wrong Gary. Mick says, be safe, gents, for being a good boy and doing as I'm told. My boy is taking me to the England-Ireland game. Hope to catch you all soon. I'm going to take a wild stab. That's probably rugby as well. Again, passes me by. But Mick, have a fantastic day. Give my best to your son. Hope you get the win. Stay safe. See you soon. Steve Williamson says, I'm banned from saying the C word. Is that on site? Is that the wife? Is it Freddie, the dog? Who's banned you from saying it? Peter McKenna says, how is a push-up bra like a bag of chips? As soon as you open it, you realise it's half empty. I can't remember the exact premise of the joke, but I know there was a joke doing the rounds when I was a kid referred to the sheepdog bra. What is a sheepdog bra? It rounds them up and points them in the right direction. As I say, can't remember the setup to it, but that was the payoff. Yet Steve Williamson is banned from saying the C word at home. And does that work like a cartoon? You know where you see somebody in a cartoon like Tom and Jerry, they get whacked on the toe with a hammer or something, so they run away and then scream 100 miles away or whatever. Are you all minding your P's and Q's at home, walk out the house, close the door of your car and just shout at the top of your voice? Because I would. I would. My mum hated that word. She absolutely hated that word. And I never told anyone this before. I had a major falling out with my mum and dad years ago. I'm 7 years older than my sister, and I'd long since left home. And I have to admit, my sister was a bit of a party goer, let's say, bit of a wild child in her youth, and she had a major falling out with my dad once. And my dad, she took a swing at my dad. My dad saw it coming, pushed her, and she fell back and hit her head on a glass door, broke the glass door, and got a cut on the back of her head. So I phoned my dad up and gave it to him with both barrels, absolutely both barrels. And for about 6 months, we didn't speak. And then it was like, I wasn't even there. So I went round there and I said, I just called round to tell you, sorry for being a cunt. One time my mum let me get away with it. Jim Turner says swearing is just normal vocabulary for me, but I always watch my language in front of folk I don't know, as I know a lot of folk find it very offensive. It's a weird thing. I swear in front of my wife, swore less in front of my mum because I was raised that way, but I'm very, very careful about swearing in front of women, which I think I'm being polite. I'm probably being a wild misogynist. But yeah, just going to answer this. Steve Williamson said, did you say you can join live on here? You can, Steve. Bear with me a second. If you have a look in the chat. Now, you'll see a link. It starts with StreamYard.com. If you grab that link, stick it in your phone or stick it in your computer, and you'll pop up on my screen in a couple of minutes. At home, we could never use the C and B word. Got slapped in the back of the head if we did use it. The B word. Which B word? Here's a thing, and I think we've got a few people from up that part of the world. I met a couple of girls while I was on holiday. Me and my mate met a couple of girls on holiday from Yorkshire. And we went up to see them because we were 17 and they were female. That's all you need to know. But we went out with them and we were in a pub playing like Space Invaders or something very similar. And at one point I did proper South London swearing. Didn't bat an eyelid. Nobody cared. And then I lost a game and I just went, oh, you bastard. Well, you'd think I'd have shot the Queen Mother. The look on these girls' faces, it was like I'd gone way too far. Apparently, F word, acceptable. B word, which as it turns out is bastard, not acceptable. Who knew? And is that a Yorkshire thing? Is the B word particularly bad in Yorkshire? Don't know. Chris Fall says a four-letter word of the female appendive contains the letters UNT. Aren't. Yeah, you can't really use, oh, you aren't. You can't use that as an insult, can you? Peter McKenna says, I don't like swearing in front of women, as I used to get a slap for saying even damn and bugger in front of my mum. Yeah, quite right. Quite right too. What? As I'm travelling, I'd love to travel Acanthus join? What? Oh, I think he'd like to join, but he can't. My apologies. I never dreamed I'd grow up to be... How far off... I'm fudging because Steve Williamson might actually be coming on live. How far off the mark are you in terms of what you thought you'd turn out like when you were younger? I'll tell you as an example. This is more a look thing than an actual accomplishment thing. I was pretty sure, maybe I was just trying to tell myself this, I was pretty sure I'd get to the age of about 50 and I would look like Chris Christopherson. not look like him, but I'd have like long, straggly hair, have the sort of face that looks like it's been weather beaten. I really thought that was my destiny. I was going to end up like Chris Christopherson. Turns out, just a bald bloke with a beard. Didn't see that coming at all. There we are. Sorry, as I'm travelling, I can't, as coverage isn't great. My apologies. Too much coffee this morning. I'm on the button now. We are currently looking at. Hang on a minute. I think he's turning things around. Steve Williamson is actually on the stream, as you can see, but he is currently muted and his screen is all black. So, Steve, you need to sort out whatever it is that you're doing. I'm going to take you off for a minute, but when you come back, unmute yourself and you can rant forth. That is why we're here. 10-4 Rubber Duck, yes, indeed. That Chris Christopherson. Also in, wasn't he Wesley Snipes' mentor in Blade? Like the Blade movies. I thought I'd be a millionaire with a Mustang GT and horses. Couldn't be further from the truth. Peter McKenna. Yeah. Although I can tell you that Steve Williamson is back. I can see his knee. I can see out of his window. He's still muted. I can basically see Steve Williamson changing buckets. And I can show you. There you are. He's slewing around. He's clearly quick couplered up, but he's not speaking because he's muted. Steve, sort your sound out. Gary Muirhead says, I remember Sean Locke saying that you remember him by a 4-letter word, and it's got C and T and U in it, and it was cute. Sean Locke, what a terrible bloody loss that was. Terrible loss. Dan Cullen says, Steve, get a grip. Yeah, get a grip, Steve. Come on, speak to us. Speak to us. Unmute your mic. I mean, in fairness.
Hello!
There you go. He's off. He's off and running. We can hear you, Steve.
You'll just probably hear a lot of clanging and beeping, so you might want to move it.
Okay, let me. I'll take you out for a second. I've taken him out for a second while he just gets himself set. But as you can see, he is there. Let's have a look. Best thing for Stevie being muted at times, no question. Where's that job, Steve? Looks good, says Dan Cullen. Graham Footy Williams says, unmute your mic. Driving a track machine. Is he driving a track machine or a rubber duck? I think he's on a track machine. But we'll wait for him to actually deposit this load and maybe he'll come and have a chat. I'll tell you what, I'll take him off the screen for now. When I see Steve's actual face on the screen, I'll bring him back in again and unmute him, and hopefully we'll be able to do something with him. Someone ring home and tell him. I like Steve's background music. Yeah, well, better than the jazz we've got playing here. Now he's just. I'm not going to commentate on what he's doing. He's just changed the angle, so maybe he'll turn the camera around. Look, guys, a steel wrist with one of the best behind the levers, he says. Gary Muirhead demonstrating his love for steel wrist. How very unusual is that? Not at all. Not at all. Steve, turn your camera around. Let's have a chat. Yes, just going back while we're getting Steve, if we can get him actually to come on and say a few words. That business about Chris Christopherson, okay, I tell you what, ignore my Chris Christopherson. I'm going to unmute Steve. There he is. There he is. How you doing, fella?
Yeah, I'm good. You cut.
Is that Volvo?
It is a Volvo one, yes.
Yeah, nice. Nice. You said you had a rant.
Yes, it was about a lot of people on social media, if these young ones, and a lot of old people, well, not old people, that's a horrible thing to say, but older people will come in and try and give advice. And I find that with social media, if someone's doing a video, someone will put a comment on, oh, why is this not happening? Why is he doing it like that? Or, oh, you shouldn't be doing it like that. You don't know the reasons. You don't know the specific reasons why they're doing that. You don't know why they're maybe doing it this way because of any reason. And then they'll post their comment and go, oh, that looks a bit high, or that looks a bit low. I've got 40 years experience. Well, I know some people on this site that have got 30, 40 years experience that I wouldn't look up to. But because they've got the 30, 40 years experience, they seem to say that all the young ones nowadays know it all. But the whole generation with construction, they're bringing in a lot of young ones because technology is... You go and give a guy that's maybe in his 50s an Android phone or an iPhone, there you go and do stuff with that. They'd be like, oh, I don't know. So I think the whole thing now, in this day and age, that being an older guy or a young guy just new into it, but knows a lot more of maybe about technology, or takes more time to look and see, oh, this is getting done like this because of that. I think the older generation operators are the ones that are, oh, I know it all. You can't tell me what to do. I've been doing this for 40 years. But does that make them a good operator? I don't think it does, to be honest. I just find that a lot of things on social media is criticised for things on what people post, but they don't really know the ins and outs on why this is getting done this way, or why you using that attachment.
We had one a while back. We actually filmed the MB Crusher stand on Expo, and they basically had a pile of concrete that they were digging up with a crusher bucket, crushing it, dumping it back on the pile, and then picking it up. It was a demonstration, so they had a limited amount of material. They were picking it up, crushing it, dumping it, picking it up. So they were using the same material over and over again. The number of comments that we had, oh, we'll never get anything done doing that. You know, why is he crushing the same material over and over again? Because it's an exhibition. He's got about 30 tons of bloody concrete to work with. That's all he's got. But they don't take context at all. At all.
It was the same when myself and Ed were at Bauma. Not so much. I think a lot of people from abroad, America and stuff, they've always got good, nice things to say. They all know what's playing about, and they all know what's actual work and production. But the UK, oh my God, if you're stacking bricks, oh, why would you need a tiltrotator to do that? Or why are you doing that? What's that showing? And I'm like, we're just having a bit of fun. And then you meet like the Swedish people and the Germans, and they're like, oh, good crack, oh, you're really showing how delicate you can be with a tiltrotator. Thank you. It's taken how long for people to actually realise that sometimes we are just having a bit of carry on at shows and stuff like that. It's all about a banter, bringing the crowds in. And plus, the biggest thing for me, it's showing you one day you could be digging hard rock, absolutely so hard on your digger. The next day, I could be laying out kerbs with the gripper or the tiltrotator, showing you how strong it can be, but also how precise and delicate you can be with a machine that's just been breaking rock for the past couple of days. It's just showing you the variety. And a lot of people say to me as well, oh, do you not want a bigger digger as well? I'm like, look at the amount of work I can do with a 14-ton machine with a tiltrotator and GPS. The work is endless, and there's two ducks here, and there's a lot of times they're sitting about because they don't have the tiltrotator, they don't have the gripper. And I'm like, well, I can pick this up. Oh, we don't need that. We'll do it. Right, okay, well, go out and manual labour that big long roll of terram, because I don't think that I know it all, but back in the day when I was an apprenticeship, when I was apprentice bricklayer, I was lifting stuff, showing you I can do this, I can do that. Now my back is absolutely goosed, it's fucked. And I wish I had, when I was back on the sites back in the day, that I had a machine driver with a tiltrotator that's got an open mind, and it would help you lift all the heavy, like lead lintels for houses and stuff like that. I wish I had all that years ago, because maybe my health would be a lot better. So it's a lot of things frustrate me with social media. Sometimes I just feel like coming off it and going, fuck
well,
this.
Gary Muirhead has just said armchair snowflake, Stevie. I think he's absolutely right. Dan Cullen says he's 100% right, and the younger generation can show us the technology side of things. I know I fall back on football quite a lot, but that whole, are they good enough because they're young? Remember the whole argument about Wayne Rooney being called up to the England team at 16 years old, and the manager actually saying if he's good enough, he's old enough. Age doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't matter at all.
To a degree, it doesn't matter, but I'm really getting sick of I don't know if it's because the whole younger kind of guys are doing their social media videos and posting them online and stuff like that, and the older generation are, what about me? And they've got to feel like they've got to have this say and post it on social media, and then you'll reply to them with, look, I understand what you're saying, I know what I'm doing, I have been doing this long enough. If you knew what was actually going on, you wouldn't need to ask that question. But why have they got to ask that question so everybody could see? Because they want to show that you're doing it wrong. That's all it is. Oh, you're doing that wrong. So I've got to say this point to make sure, to make people aware that you're doing that wrong, when I'm not, or they're not. They're maybe doing it that way because they've maybe been told to do it that way, or it's getting done that way for a reason.
I think that was a good point you made about. It was a good point you made about ConExpo in particular. Because I've worked here and I've worked over there as well. The difference in opinion, if I were to go, or if a sales manager of a plant company, let's say a JCB sales manager, turned up outside a plant hire company here driving a Porsche, there would be questions asked. You're driving a Porsche, you must be charging too much for your machines. You do the same thing in America, the Americans will say, he's driving a Porsche, he must be really good. They're sending out the big boys to look after him. There's such a difference in that mentality. They big you up in America, they try to knock you down here in the UK.
Yeah, and I think the table's turned now in construction with the technology and equipment. The older generation needs to start looking at the younger generation, because the younger generation are really good with computers. I'm not saying the older generation aren't great with computers, but the majority of people that are good with computers are the younger kind of gen, and the guys that keep their machine in split condition, wear their socks inside, because I don't have to get out because I'm always in the digger. So I think the tables have turned now, that instead of us looking at the older generation, we need to start doing best for ourselves and going, right, I want to learn this technology. I'm going to go and speak to that guy that's been driving excavators for 40 years. Oh, how do you get this GPS to do this, or the tiltrotator to do this? Oh, I don't know. Oh, but you've told me that you have got 40, 50, 60 years experience. So I think the tables have now turned. They need to start looking at the younger generation. We've got a guy here that's been on he's retiring this year, and he came to me yesterday because his GPS screen got knocked off. The screen disappeared, and he didn't know how to get it back. And I got it back for him in 2 seconds. But I don't go around and posting on social media, I had to show a boy that's got 60 odd years experience how to do it. This is a joke and all that. I just do it and go, I don't need to post it. I don't need to say to anyone that this and that, but it just shows you that has the tables turned. Because isn't that reflective of social media though, where you see people buying a sandwich for a homeless person and filming themselves giving the homeless person a sandwich. If you rap being a decent person, you wouldn't film it. You just buy a bloody sandwich and get on with your day.
to actually say, oh, I had to help an old bloke out because he can't understand computers. That doesn't make you helpful. That makes you a dickhead. Jim Turner says, dead right, Steve. It's about how good someone is, not how old they are or how long they've been doing it. Peter McKenna says, trolls power, like the dicks that sleep job advertising. Gary Muirhead said, I had the same thing when I used to demonstrate on the Encon stand. You used to demonstrate on the Encon stand? Wash your mouth out. I can do that with my own machine. Can you really? And how much longer will it take? And how much fuel will we use? Yeah, it's a context thing. It absolutely is. Dan Collins says, same as Steve. One day I could be in demolishing houses. Next day I could be in drainage or grading. I say to many guys, open your opportunities on an excavator, as many guys don't want to venture on to do other things. Quite right. Jim Turner, I think this is the point. I get out to help the decent lads. I don't get out and help the lazy people. I let them struggle. Yeah.
It's the same with Formula One. Look at Formula One. Look at all the drivers. Where's David Coulthard on? I'm not really a big follower, but where's all the older guys now? Why are they not driving? They've got years experience driving Formula One cars and know how the car works. They know how to drive around a track. Where are they? Look at Alonso. He was amazing in his young days when he had no fear and stuff like that. Now, yeah, he's back in it, but he's not as good as what he used to be. Look at, you've got Verstappen, you've got all your young guys coming in. Why? Because the Formula One cars are getting more advanced with technology. The same with machines. They're getting more advanced with technology. We need to bring in the younger guys to get this and work the machines to their full capacity. You stick a GPS on a machine and give it to a guy that's maybe got 30 years experience, will just use the basic of the GPS. But if you actually are quite good with technology and dig into it and actually look around what the GPS can do, I can measure, I can make my own files, I can, if I'm digging like a service track, say 600 mil away from the curb line, yeah, I could do it by eye. But if I've got GPS in the machine anyway, I can select that curb line, select it on the screen, and move it 600 mil. So when I start digging that with my bucket, there's a line in my GPS screen. Instead of that line being the pavement, now it's my 600 mil trench that I need to dig for a service track. There's a lot more to it, and I think that's why a lot of your Formula One drivers are young guys, because the technology on that steering wheel is just insane. You go and stick David Coulthard, or I don't know how Michael Schumacher is nowadays. I don't know if he's out and about or what, but you go stick him in a car now, they'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but they've got all this experience. The same with construction, I think.
I'm going to read you very quickly. Gary Muirhead has just said, I once started a young plant operator who looked like he just came out of school. I had to convince the site to hire him, but after a week, the site manager phoned to say he was the best operator he'd ever had and was the last man on the job. But while you're talking about GPS, and I do want to throw this one up, just for those that don't know, our friend Footy is very severely dyslexic. And he has just said, I like GPS. If I was better with my reading, I would go into it. But if it spoke to me, I could do more. But I can't because of my reading. It F's me up. Is that the case? Is there a lot of reading involved? Or, can you set it to be pictorial or something like that?
There's not a lot of reading. There is a lot of... There are sometimes, depending on what files you get sent to you, you can get really detailed files that will say, what the plots of the houses are, it'll tell you what kind of cables in here, it'll tell you everything that's under the ground, it'll tell you what everything is, and then you'll get a file that just shows you lines and the number of the manhole or something like that. But to actual read, I don't think there's much reading in it. You've just got to know your maths. I think someone that knows it's pretty good with maths will work well with GPS, because I don't know if you know, but I've got my GPS screen there, and then I've got a stick-on window, stick-on notepad holder. So I write everything down into that. So if a lot of your files on here might be finished road height. So when I go in to grade a road, obviously I've got the finished road height, so I've got the tire level. So I'll go to them, what's your depth of tire? Right, there's 60 mil of binder, and there's this and that. So I add that up, calculate that off. Right, what needs to go on? So you calculate that on. There's a lot of maths involved, but it's not. I wasn't great at maths, but you need to be a bit clued up with working out different heights and stuff like that. But reading, there's not a lot of reading in it, to be honest.
It does make me wonder, though. If there is some reading and some maths, is that move to technology actually discriminating against those? Are we? I think as an industry, both construction and demolition would be very good at taking people that weren't particularly good at school or particularly academic, and we found a way to use them. With the increased use of technology, are we going to do away with that? Are we going to end up with a team of Stephen Hawkings behind the controls rather than a bloke that didn't do particularly well at school?
I think it's a difference between someone that's. I'm not saying that I'm great, but I'm just saying that that's the difference between someone that's good with GPS and someone that's just, he's got GPS, he knows the basics. There you go. There's a difference. You could drive a machine with GPS and just use the basics, and you'd manage fine, no problem at all. But myself, I like to go and look in. So you've got, get this off here. So you've got a lot of different functions you've got with the GPS, but you don't need to use them. You can use the basics, and anybody could use that. It's when you want to go more into the advanced. It's like video editing and picture editing and using a camera. So you'll get someone that will use an iPhone 15 Pro. It's basic camera, take a picture, it'll do, but it won't be as good as someone that knows how to set up the settings in a camera to get the full potential. And that's the difference with the GPS. You can work the basics, no problem at all, but there's more advanced features that can make you a really good operator and efficient. Yesterday I had the site agent, there was about 4 or 5 of them, and then my boss phoned me and says, oh, can you come up here, we need you to mark the height of the road and everything. And I had my side window open, and tiltrotators have been out a long time, GPS has been out a long time, and I had my window open and I was marking and showing them, and I heard one of the high up lads say to the other lad, fucking hell, that's some bit of kit, that is bloody amazing. Now, it's good to hear that, and it just shows you that there's still people out there that don't know. So the GPS, so that's your basic. So there's your outline. So that's site formation. So when you come into a site, I don't know if you'll be able to see that. When you come into a site, that's like your basic. So that's the whole site there. So that's formation. So that's what you dig down to before the topsoil goes on. So there's your lines there. So all I do is, if I put my bucket down, I just dig to that line. That's your basics. When it comes to the other kind of stuff, you've got where is it? You've got all these other stuff. You've got record point. So if I go to record point, it'll come up and say that was say a gully. So you would type that in, save it, and then say that gully was there. So if I move the digger away, that point there will always be on this computer. So when I come back to find that point, I can dig to that point. But you can connect on it, select the point, select the gully, navigate to point. So if somebody says to me, I want to know the distance from there to there, so I go to navigate to point, and it'll tell me that I'm 2 meters away. So if I keep going round, No, I'm 5, 6 meters away, and I can start using this machine for measuring up stuff. So there's a lot to it. If you go into that kind of side of it, there's a lot more to it. The moving lines, getting the files, moving the lines to suit yourself. If they're wanting this, you move it. But learning the basics, I think anyone that read or struggle with reading or maths would still be able to use it. It's just when you go into the advanced settings, it's maybe that's more tougher. A lot of people that have never used GPS have messaged me saying, "Oh, how do you do this?" Learn the basics. Learn the basics before you start going into other things, because your mind will just be like, "What the hell?" Because when I wanted to do more on video editing and picture editing, there were some videos I was watching and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. iOS and frame rates, and I was just like, what? So I just kind of just started down, try this, try that, and work myself up. And still to this day, I watch videos and I'm still like, what the hell is he talking about? How do they get that effect like that? So GPS is just the same, really. It really is. There's the basics that anyone could really use, and then there's the more advanced settings. It's just like anything else, your phone and stuff like that.
Couple of things. Gary Muirhead's got a message on the screen there. Another good thing about GPS, we did a drainage job where the manholes had to be covered up. When we had to locate them again, the GPS located everyone with pinpoint accuracy. Jim Turner says, as an employee, you're worth more as a person that gets the job done in the most efficient way. When it comes to asking for more money, the more useful you are, the more money you are worth. This week, I've mostly had the levers in my hand, but also a shovel, a hammer, laser, trowel, drawing, scale ruler, and also spanners and socket set, all in order to get the job done. All good points. Somebody asked, is this your new machine that you're on at the moment, Steve? Don't think you can hear us. Are you on your new machine, Steve? Are you listening?
2 seconds.
No worries. While you're doing that, I'm just going to say, Footy has actually said, thank you for showing me, but I couldn't do the advanced settings. My reading wouldn't allow me, and the maths goes out of my head. Is that your new machine that you're in?
It is, yes.
Awesome.
It's obviously carpet floor. Yeah, it's a new machine.
For the foot fetishists that are watching, we've just seen
show you. Yeah, it's a new machine, and I would say it's better than the last Volvo. I don't know if supposedly they've changed a lot of the school blocks and stuff like that, and it just for grading. Oh my god, it's just heaven. It really is a nice machine, and they've got all these new functions now that if you're sitting too long, it'll shut off. If you can shut the machine off, go away in your van, go away home, and the machine will shut down itself and stuff like that. It's all fuel efficient. I've actually been playing. So, the company I work for, they're quite big on fuel efficiency with the GPS, obviously, tiltrotators. And they've got this Volvo, I can't remember the system they call it, for tracking on how much fuel you use, idling, and stuff like that. And we got Volvo to come up and tell us all the different settings, like you've got your I, F, G, and H, and then you've got your Eco, and then you've got G1, G2, G4, and years and years I've been driving diggers, I've just put them full revs, away you go. That's what I've always done. And Volvo came up and showed us ways on how to be more efficient, and I was like, oh, that's not going to work. But actually, it's a nice, if you change the settings, you can grade like amazingly. If you put on a lower setting, you've got more lift in it. Then you put it onto the high setting, and then you can load lorries and stuff. So there's lots of different settings, and I've saved, what did he say, 500, would it be 500 litres per month I've saved by just changing all the settings every day.
Wow.
I don't know if it sounds right, but I'm sure it was 500 something anyway.
That's a lot of money right there. Chris Ford says, never had anything to do with GPS. Nearest I got to technology at school was an abacus. Missed scientific calculators, computers, although I've had a mobile phone since 1985. Still not figured out what it's capable of. Nothing wrong with the PlayStation generation, but I get tech overload. Jim Turner said about your machine or your GPS, perfect for digging back down on staked-off pipe runs and road crossings, especially if it uploaded right through the company's machines. So the stuff roads and sewers have laid, and the housing lads have to dig down on months, years later. Jim Turner also says, never used GPS or had any first-hand experience, but I can see it would make me so much more productive if I had. And Gary Muirhead is about to take delivery of a new machine, new Volvo EC140 with steel wrist. No great surprise there. On Monday, looking forward to that. Gary, we need photographs, and if you could do what Steve's doing, put a camera in the cab. I'd love to see that. Dan says the Volvo I'm on, good rip out power. I'm actually shocked, but I find her tail happy, he says. Right, people. Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure. I didn't expect to be doing demonstrations of GPS this morning when we first started, but hey, things happen. But we are almost at the 2-hour mark, which, given the fact that this was supposed to be an hour-long show, I didn't see that coming either. So, Steve, next time I see you face-to-face is going to be Intimat. Are you all geared up and ready?
It will be. Not at all. Not ready at all. I haven't. The hotel's booked because myself and the wife are going over 4 days before the show because I've never been to Paris, so we're going to have a wander about and see some things. And she's wanting to go and see what's the one with the dancing and
Moulin Rouge.
Something like that.
Yeah, Moulin Rouge.
Like that. Yeah. But the actual show, I haven't even thought about the show yet. I've been thinking every time I see it on your lives every day. That's the only time I think, oh god, yeah, Intermat's happening soon. There's just so much happening with work and at home. I just haven't had a chance to think about it. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Ed's speaking about coming over for a day, so hopefully he can make it. Because they are not going to be at Scotland this year. King Salford have pulled out of Scotland this year, so.
Well, keep me posted. I mean, obviously, I'll come and find you anyway, because we'll have the cameras there, and Fred's going to be there as well. But if Eddie's coming over, let me know when he's going to be there, and I'll get the coffees in.
Yeah, no problem. Right, I better get to it.
Okay, Steve, it's been a pleasure as always. Take it easy, mate. I'll see you soon.
No worries.
So there you are. We're at an hour and nearly 57 minutes. I said to my wife, I'll just pop on. I'll just do a quick hour. Here we are, 2 hours later. Quite surprised Knox is not at the Scott plant. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I think that was, and I did find it slightly odd, the fact that the Scott was going from Scotland to Paris to do the Intermat show, and the Welshman was going from Wales to Scotland to do the Scottish show, and obviously that's not now the case. But yeah, awesome stuff. Great show, Mark. Thank you. Quality 2 hours. Have a great weekend, guys. See you all on Monday morning. Yeah, Dan, you go and have a fantastic weekend. What's left of it. I'll be back on Monday. As I say, no show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I will be back on Friday after my trip to Hamburg with the fine folks at Steel Wrist. Thank you for your company today, guys. I don't know quite. I'll go away and have a think about exactly what it was we covered today, because I certainly didn't expect to be covering any of that, to be entirely honest with you. But hey, what the hell? That's what we're here for, not just a bit of a chin wag. So everybody, please go and have a fantastic weekend. Gary Muirhead says, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. And Lou Carney says, Hagwa. Have a good weekend. Yes, you too, Lou. Thank you very much indeed for being here, everyone, even those that were lurking unseen, like Lou Carley. But thank you very much indeed for being here. Everybody, go and have a fantastic weekend. Come on, England, apparently, in the rugby. I don't know. And I'll see you all on Monday. Till then, everybody, have a fun one. All the best.